Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Krown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
Hey everyone, so here's a cast of the story. The entitled mother, her calm kid, a police officer, the police officer's deputy, and me. So here's where the story begins. Last week, my birthday was on Sunday, so my parents decided that we go out to Yuma, Arizona to get me my first truck. I had no clue why they were bringing me out there. We got there, got the truck, and brought it home. Okay, so now it's Wednesday, and I'm out front changing the oil on it, and I hear my gate shake. I look up and see the entitled mother out front aggressively shaking the gate. Excuse me, ma'am? This is private property. The entitled mother stops shaking the gate and says, "Hey, do you own that little SUV?" She said that because it looks like an SUV with a camber shell. "Yes, I do." "Are you selling it?" "No, sorry, but thanks for asking." $700. "What?" "I'll give you $700 for it." "Ma'am, I already said no." "Please, my son needs it." She pointed to her probably 6-year-old son. Now at this point I'm getting kind of upset because she's not letting up, and my patience was already really low because of this oil change. "Listen, lady, I'm going to ask one more time nicely. Please leave my property." "Give it to me now." She used a racial slur because I'm clearly part Italian. Alright, now this part makes me lose my cool and I said some things I shouldn't have. "What did you just say to me, you short twitch?" "You heard me. Go back to Italy." She kept calling me the slur while shaking the gate more. I then walked back to get my baseball bat and call the police. She kept shaking the gate even more. And now with a baseball bat I shouted, "I'm going to go full Salieri on you if you don't leave now." Bonus points for people who understand that. She sees me with a baseball bat and screams, "Come any closer and I'll call the police." I stepped closer. Too late. I already did. I pointed to a police car pulling down my street. The police officer steps out of the car as she says, "Officer, this jerk stole my SUV and refused to give it back." She used the racial slur instead of jerk. "No, I didn't," the police officer says. Alright, everyone calm down. I'm going to talk to him first. Then I'll talk to the entitled mother, okay?" We both said okay. The police officer walks over to me as the entitled mother tries to enter the driveway. She is then told to stay put. "Why should I stay put? He stole my SUV." "Ma'am, stay put or I'll be forced to detain you." "Fine." "Sir, do you have any cameras around here by any chance?" "Yes, I do actually. The old owner of the house was paranoid and put up cameras." "May I please see the footage?" "Yes, you may." I take the officer inside while the other officer is watching the entitled mother. A police officer is now watching footage that shows the entitled mother attempted to break in. The other officer from outside says, "Ma'am, stay back." "Ma'am." Insert sounds of a stun gun being deployed here. The police officer ran outside, and I ran with him. Cue to the entitled mother laying on the ground with a knife in her hand and a stun gun stuck to her arm. The police officer asks, "What happened?" His partner answers, "She charged at me with a knife." "Alright, put her in cuffs." Officer 2 cuffs her. The entitled mother says, "This is illegal. I know my rights." "Good. Then you know you have the right to remain silent." And then he closes the car door. The police officer wished me a good day, and that's the end of the story. The last thing I knew, she's facing 15 years for attempted murder of a law enforcement officer. Okay, so about a year ago, I left a job working as a waitress at a salad buffet place that shall remain nameless. I have been working there for about 2 years. More on my departure later. When I started working there, I was warned by a friend of mine who had gotten me the job to watch out for the night shift manager. Let's call her Nancy. Nancy was a massive jerk. Not only was she grating just in her personality, but she had the worst temper and would go off on anyone for minor infractions or just not doing things her way, which more often than not was the exact wrong way to be doing these things. I occasionally worked as a cook on a hot bar, making hot food items for the buffet as well, In the first 2 months of me working there, Nancy told me no less than 10 times, probably more, to make a sheet cake for the bar. It was informed by me that I had never been trained on how to make a sheet cake, and instead of showing me so, I would know for the future she would just scream for the customers to hear, "You're so useless. Move. I'll make it myself." So yes, Nancy was a total witch and quickly developed a hatred for me because I'm not the kind of person who keeps my mouth shut when I'm being unjustly berated. At least 3 times the owner of the place, let's call her Dolores, she'll be important later, had to reprimand Nancy because I told her how Nancy had been treating me. Each time she got reprimanded, her ire for me grew, and she would, after a short period of acting like a decent person until the heat died down, start laying into me even harder. Of course, this wasn't even the worst of it. I've worked with jerk managers before. I know how to handle myself. What really tipped the scales for me was her supplemental income practices. You see, Nancy wasn't just a witch. She was a greedy witch. She had worked as a waitress before she became manager, as I understand, and apparently missed the tips, because she would keep a hawk eye out for regular customers who tipped well and would insist that she serve them no matter whose section they were in. That was majorly against company policy, as was the fact that when she didn't have any of these high-dollar parties to sponge off under the table, she went over the table instead, right to the tips left for other servers, and I cannot tell you how many times I watched the party put down $5 on the table, walked away to put dishes down, and then walked back to find Nancy bossing my table. "Just trying to be helpful," she would say, and be informed, "Sorry, she, looks like they stiffed you. Better luck on the next table." Gosh, she wasn't even subtle about it. Every table she bossed for me would up stiffing me. And of course, Nancy would flaunt into work each day bragging about how she just got her hair done at the salon or got her nails done. Makes me sick. But I digress. You see, I wasn't sitting idle all this time. I had, as I mentioned, told Dolores about her harassment of me, but I also informed her about the theft of tips and taking tables she wasn't allowed to take. Dolores, let's get this straight right now, had no business on the screen earth owning or trying to run a company. As I understand it, it had been a dream of hers to run a restaurant, and her entirely too loaded for his own good husband had paid for the entire thing just so she could. She clearly grew up as a rich witch and was used to things just going her way, because a decent manager she was not. But more on her later. The reason I bring up her ineptitude is because when I told her about Nancy's unacceptable and illegal behavior, Dolores would just shrug and say, "Yeah, a lot of the servers tell me that, but I cannot really do anything without proof. I'm trying to find someone to replace her as night manager, but until I find someone, we're just stuck with her." Eventually, though, Nancy did get the sack. I don't recall exactly what she was fired for. It's not important. What's important is when Dolores called me into her office one day. "Hey, Shiloh. So Nancy is trying to file for unemployment benefits. Could you write a statement of the things you saw her doing around here so I can show that to unemployment and I don't have to pay her?" With abject glee, I had a statement detailing some 30 infractions, many illegal, that I had witnessed Nancy engaging in, printed out, and ready to hand over to Dolores the next morning. As I hear it, not only were her benefits denied, but she was also being questioned by the police. Score. But Dolores doesn't get off scot-free either. As I said, she had no business running a company. She was a horrid little monster, rich and entitled, neither by her own earning. She strutted around like the queen of the place. I remember once she was asked about Christmas bonuses and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. We just don't have the money to give anyone a bonus this year." The next day she went on a vacation to Cancun or somewhere like that and came back after doing some expensive cosmetic surgeries. No money, yeah right. I was entirely sick of Dolores for reasons that I won't enumerate, seeing as I seem to have a novelet forming already. I do try to keep these short, they just keep getting away from me. I was ready to quit and find a new job. However, my landlord informed me that he was selling the house I was renting a room in and I had to find a new place to stay. So these things aligned made me start thinking, My girlfriend and I, who lived out of state, were always planning on moving in together. She had an empty bedroom, I had money to rent a car, and I needed out of my job. We pulled the trigger. I booked a car for 2 weeks out, typed up my resignation, and gave Dolores my 2 weeks' notice, which is a far sight more professionalism than she deserved from me after the nonsense she had put me through. So my last 2 weeks at this job, Dolores saw fit to try and punish me for daring to leave her employee. She was having staffing issues at the time because she was developing a reputation as a bad boss, so very few new applicants were coming in. Those who already worked there were jumping ship because Dolores was a nightmare, and they could already feel the ship was starting to capsize. So for my last 2 weeks, Dolores would happily schedule me as the only server on many shifts. I would have the entire floor of roughly 60 tables I would have to tend to. Luckily, it was a buffet, so catering to a table was quick and easy, and I'm a great server, so I could handle the workload. Joke's on her, I made more in those last 2 weeks than I usually made in 2 months working that job. She also decided not to schedule me for any days off in that time, though the lengths of the shifts made overtime very improbable. But no matter, like I said, I'm a great waitress, partially because I don't just do serving. I have my fingers in a little bit of everything, trying to make sure the entire place runs smoothly, not just the parts I'm responsible for. Teamwork makes the dream work. The thing about that is, I don't think Dolores ever realized just how much I did for her on a daily basis. At least, I hope she wouldn't be stupid enough to treat someone who was keeping her livelihood afloat the way she treated me. But who knows? The point is I was looking over my schedule, I noticed that Dolores had me scheduled on the day I was supposed to leave, the day that falls outside my 2 weeks' notice. Guess not being able to count to 14 was one of the things contributing to her poor management. And lo and behold, she scheduled me to work solo that night. I'm 5 hours outside the town border when my shift starts. Right on cue, my phone starts ringing off the hook. I let it go to voicemail the first 3 times, then picked up the 4th. Hello? It's Dolores, she says. Shiloh, where the heck are you? Your shift started 15 minutes ago. I need you here right now. Oh, did you schedule me today? I thought I told you 2 weeks ago I was quitting. That's tomorrow, not today. Panic creeping into her voice. Nope, count it up. I handed you my 2 weeks notice on date X, and yesterday was day 14. Okay, I messed up. I just need you to come in tonight. I have nobody else who can cover. Sorry, Dolores, I am already in another state. It would take 5 hours to drive back, and my shift will be over by then. You'll have to call someone else to come in. I already tried when you didn't answer your phone. None of them want to come in. I figured I wasn't the only one who wanted as little to do with Dolores as possible. Well, I guess you'll have to figure something out. You're the manager. I'm sure you'll manage. That was as I hung up, turned off my ringer, and had an absolutely blissful drive out of my old life. Comfortable in the knowledge that Dolores was full-on 5-alarm, hair on fire panicking in my wake. I live in an apartment with very thin walls. I accepted that I will hear noises, and I'm okay with that because that's just what happens when you live in an apartment. My upstairs neighbor is the loudest person I know. He comes back to his place late at night with his music and his car blasting, and his assigned space is right in front of my bedroom. It doesn't help that he likes to sit in there for 10 minutes with the music blasting before he actually goes in. I hear him vacuuming, doing laundry, and using the dishwasher in the middle of the night. But I just put in earplugs and go back to sleep. My main issue is he likes to keep all his windows open with his TV at high volume at night. It is so loud it sounds like I turned on my own TV and blasted it. I'm also a college student in an intense program, so I'm constantly studying. I tried using earplugs, but the TV is just so loud. So I asked him if he could turn down his TV because I'm trying to study. And he did the first few times I asked him. However, this issue kept persisting, and I even reminded him that our lease quiet time is from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. At this point, I think he was just annoyed by me and turned his TV on even louder. I tried filing a noise complaint, but honestly, not much came out of it. One night when I was studying for my finals, I heard his loud, dreadful TV. Again, I went up and asked if he could turn down his TV, and he did not. I'm already stressed for this final and stressed because I couldn't study in this type of environment. I felt like breaking down and crying at that moment, but I really needed that A, which is where I had the bright idea to connect my lecture I was listening to my speaker and put it on full blast. I stacked chairs on my table where it would be high enough for the speakers to be pressing on a ceiling. It was so loud I could feel my ceiling vibrate. 10 minutes passed by and I heard my doorbell ring. I opened the door to see my lovely upstairs neighbor. He asked if I could quiet down, which I responded back with, "Sorry, your TV was so loud I couldn't hear my lecture." He huffed and turned on his TV even louder. I went to my car and parked at a quiet place since everything was closed and I may have lost the battle. But I was going to win this war. On our lease, it says marijuana is prohibited on the property. If they found out a tenant is in possession of marijuana, they will be evicted. My upstairs neighbor smokes marijuana every day. The smell doesn't really bother me because I enjoy it myself, but I just don't use it on the property since I'm paranoid about getting evicted. Also, when I would go up to talk to him, I noticed he had a huge jar of it behind him. Anyways, the next day I smelled him lighten up. I called the leasing office because there is a strong odor of what smells like marijuana coming from upstairs. He also smokes on his balcony for everyone to see. I was peeping through my window to see if the property manager was coming by. I see him smoking. Then I heard her go upstairs and knock on his door. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but I was really hoping she saw his jar. Several days pass and I see him moving his stuff out. I didn't want to stoop that low, but he pushed me to that point. Now I have a great upstairs neighbor that I have no problems with. My name is Sarah, and I'm a young mother of two living in a small suburb just outside the city. My husband and I have been saving up for months to buy our children some new clothes and toys. And we had finally saved enough money to make the trip to the mall. I have been looking forward to this outing for weeks and was excited to spend some quality time with my children and treat them to a few new things. I have planned out our route carefully, making sure to hit all of the best sales and deals at the various stores. As we made our way through the crowded corridors of the mall, I couldn't help but feel a sense of joy and excitement. I loved watching my children's eyes light up as they marveled at all the colorful displays and shiny new toys. But despite my best efforts, I found myself feeling a little overwhelmed by the crowds and the noise. I had a lot on my mind and sometimes it was hard to keep track of everything. That's why I found myself standing in the middle of the walkway, lost in thought. And that's when Karen approached me. As Karen approached me, I could tell from the haughty expression on her face that she was not happy to see me standing in the middle of the walkway. "Excuse me," Karen said, tapping me on the shoulder. "Could you please move out of the way? I have places to be and I don't have time to stand around." I was taken aback by the rude tone in her voice. I was a decent, kind-hearted person, and I did not appreciate being spoken to in such a manner. "I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to find my way to the food court," I replied calmly. "I'm not trying to hold you up or anything." Karen let out an exaggerated sigh and crossed her arms. "Well, maybe if you paid more attention to where you were going instead of daydreaming, you wouldn't be blocking the way for everyone else," she snapped. I was taken aback by Karen's rude and entitled behavior, but I refused to let it get to me. I gave her a polite smile and went in the direction of the food court. "Have a good day," I said before making my way past Karen and continuing on my way. But Karen was not satisfied with my response. She followed me, berating me for blocking the way and daydreaming in a rude, aggressive manner. Despite my attempts to de-escalate the situation, calmly explain that I was just trying to find my way, Karen seemed to get even more agitated and angry. You think you're better than everyone else just because you're standing here in the middle of the walkway? Karen spat out. Well, you're not. You're just a selfish, entitled person who doesn't care about anyone but themselves. I was shocked by Karen's harsh words, but I refused to let them get to me. I knew that she was just trying to provoke me, and I wasn't going to let her succeed. I gave her a polite smile and continued on my way, determined to enjoy my time at the mall with my family and not let Karen's negativity ruin my day. I had finally managed to escape Karen's tirade and was making my way to the food court to meet up with my family when I felt a sudden jolt to my chest. I looked down to see Karen standing in front of me, blocking my way and looking angry and aggressive. What do you think you're doing? Karen demanded, shoving me in the chest. You can't just walk away from me like that. I was shocked by Karen's behavior, and I could feel my heart racing in my chest. But what Karen did not know was that I had an implantable cardiac defibrillator, ICD, planted in my chest to keep me alive. This device was designed to detect and correct any abnormal heart rhythms that could potentially be life-threatening. As Karen shoved me, I felt a sudden jolt of pain in my chest. I knew immediately that she had smashed my ICD, and I could feel my heart racing out of control. I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. All I could do was stand there staring at Karen in shock and disbelief. Karen seemed confused about what had happened, and her expression changed from anger to confusion. What's going on? She demanded. I don't understand what's happening. Why are you just standing there like that? I tried to explain that she had smashed my ICD and that I needed to get to a hospital as quickly as possible, but Karen seemed unable to grasp the gravity of the situation. She looked even angrier and more confused, and I could see that she was starting to get agitated again. I don't know what you're talking about, Karen snapped. You're just trying to get out of the situation by making up some crazy excuse. I'm not letting you walk away from me until you explain yourself. I was terrified and frustrated by Karen's refusal to understand what was happening. My heart was racing out of control, and I knew that I had to get help as quickly as possible, before it was too late. My heart was racing out of control, and I knew that I had to get help as quickly as possible before it was too late. But Karen seemed determined to keep me there, no matter what. I knew that I had to do something drastic to get away from Karen and get the help that I needed. So I started screaming for help, hoping that someone would hear me and come to my aid. Help! I shouted as loud as I could. Someone please call the security guards and an ambulance. I need help. And to my relief, I saw several people turning to look at me in surprise and concern. I could see them pulling out their phones and starting to dial for help. Karen, on the other hand, seemed to be losing control of herself. She was getting ignored by everyone, and it was clear that she was starting to panic. What are you doing? Karen demanded, trying to grab hold of me. This is all just an act. You're just trying to get attention. You're not really sick. But I was beyond caring about what Karen thought or said. All I cared about was getting the help I needed. I continued to scream and appealed for help, and I could see that more and more people were starting to take notice. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, Karen charged at me one last time, trying to convince others that I was acting out and faking it. But before she could reach me, my husband appeared out of nowhere and shoved Karen to the floor. He gently picked me up and started walking towards the nearest security booth, determined to get me the help I needed. As my husband carried me towards the nearest security booth, I couldn't help but feel much calmer with him by my side. But I wasn't entirely safe yet, as I could hear Karen in the background screaming like a banshee that she was going to destroy my husband for shoving her. She started running after him, determined to catch him and make him pay for his actions. I was terrified and worried for my husband's safety, and I could feel my heart racing once again. But to my relief, a few brave guys managed to stop Karen from reaching him and kept her detained until a couple security guards arrived on the scene. The security guards took control of the situation, detaining Karen properly and ensuring that she couldn't cause any more harm. An ambulance arrived shortly after, and I was relieved to see the familiar faces of the paramedics who rushed to my side and helped me into the ambulance. As the ambulance raced towards the hospital, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the quick actions of my husband, the brave guys who had stopped Karen, and the security guards who had detained her. I knew that without their help, things could have turned out much worse. When we arrived at the hospital, the doctors and nurses rushed to my side and began examining me. They quickly determined that my ICD had been damaged, and they worked quickly to fix it and stabilize my heart. And sure enough, a few hours later, I learned that Karen had indeed been arrested by the cops. They had pulled out the CCTV footage and taken statements from others, and that Karen had resisted arrest and forced the cops to use force in cuffing her. Later, as I recovered from my ordeal in the hospital, I couldn't help but wonder what would happen to Karen. I knew that she had been arrested and charged with assault and destruction of private property, and I hoped that she would receive the stiff sentence for her actions. And sure enough, a few weeks later, I learned that Karen had indeed been sentenced to prison for her crimes. The judge took into consideration the fact that Karen had assaulted a sick person like myself and destroyed my private medical device, putting my life at risk in the process. I was relieved to hear that Karen would be held accountable for her actions, and I hoped that she would learn her lesson and think twice before acting out in such an entitled and aggressive manner again. As I moved on with my life and continued to recover from the traumatic experience, I knew that I would always be grateful to my husband and the others who had helped me and protected me from Karen's aggression. I knew that without their quick thinking and bravery, things could have turned out much worse, and I knew that I would always be thankful for the justice that had been served in this case. This story happened 2 days ago. I live in New York, and the latest winter storm was just about to hit. I'm a 25-year-old female wearing a bit poofy Rick coat and a black hat with a giant puff ball on top. Also leggings and boots. I'm 5'2", 150 pounds, and I look like the cuddly teddy bear that I am. Every day I walk to work as 1, our cat isn't in working condition, and 2, it only takes a half hour to walk there. Plus I had weight loss surgery a year and a half ago, so walking helps me get some exercise. I was on my way to work just as it started to snow, and I decided to stop by the Burger King that was on the way. I put my mask on and entered the building to get in line. When I walked in, an older woman was having her order taken, and an older man was standing near the line. We will call him Chad. I asked Chad if he was in line, and he said yes. A few moments later, a man older than him came out of the bathroom and joined him. We will call him Kevin. "Did you order yet?" Kevin asked. "Not yet. Still in line," Chad answered. "Seriously? Can't these people go any faster? I just want my burger." I'm standing there scrolling on my phone as I wait for the line to move, and internally rolling my eyes. The woman finishes having her order taken, and Chad and Kevin move up. Kevin says, "I want a burger. Just a plain burger. That's it." Cashier tells him, "Okay, sir. That'll be this much." "No, wait. He," points to Chad, "wants a coffee." Chad says, "Medium, 3 cream and 3 sugar." "Yeah, and please hurry." Chad pays for the order, and I step up and place my order. I'd like 2 spicy chicken juniors with onion and tomato, please." I pay for my order and stand to wait for it. Now the time is about 11:30 a.m. The lunch rush is in full swing, and as I don't have to be at work until noon, I don't mind waiting a few minutes. About 2 minutes pass, and Kevin says, "Can't these people move any faster? I just want a burger." "Hey, can I get my food, please?" Chad says, "I just want my coffee." They can't even give me that. The staff ignore them and go about their business, getting food out as fast as they can. The woman in front of us gets her food and politely leaves. The cashier places a small to-go bag on the counter. Cashier says, "1 bacon cheeseburger." I look around wondering who ordered the bacon cheeseburger. Kevin and Chad are busy talking amongst themselves about how slow and useless the staff are. A moment passes, and Kevin asks, "Where is my burger?" Cashier says, "I apologize, sir. It's right there." She holds up a bag with a bacon cheeseburger. "That's a bacon cheeseburger. I didn't order any bacon cheeseburgers. I asked for a plain burger. Give me my burger now. I am so sorry for the mix-up, sir. I'll get it for you right away. They need to stop hiring people who can't do their jobs. At this point, I'd had enough. I'm not okay with people being attacked unless they truly deserve it. And these employees certainly didn't deserve it. I turned to Kevin and say, you need to lower your voice and speak to them with a bit more respect. Excuse me? Have you ever worked fast food? No. Then shut your mouth and wait for your food. I'm overheating in my coat trying to breathe in this stuffy mask and I'm risking being late for work, yet you don't hear me complaining. These people are exhausted, they are overworked, and they are hot and ache all over. And they are underpaid on top of that. You came here in the middle of the lunch rush. Did you not see the long line of cars outside when you came in? These employees are moving as fast as they can. Unless you can look me in the eye and tell me you know exactly what they are going through, you need to shut up and learn some manners. You're what, 70 years old? That's plenty of time to learn at least the most basic manners. With that, I thanked the cashier, took my food and I left. I didn't look back to see the look on Kevin or Chad's faces. I'm not good with confrontation and I was shaken from what I'd just done, but I was very proud of myself. I've never worked in fast food. I worked in grocery stores for 11 years before I started to pursue my current career in teaching. But my best friend works in a fast food restaurant and I can tell you that they most certainly are overworked and underpaid. And customers like Kevin and corporate make them feel